This has been a project that's been mentioned or rumoured pretty much since the former president was unceremoniously and quite controversially, it has to be said, booted from all of the big tech platforms, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. It's now, through Donald Trump's launch of his own platform, that has climbed to the top of Apple charts and has a huge waiting list, mammoth waiting list. A year after that Twitter ban, let's not forget when it comes to Twitter and Trump actually put Twitter on the map, right? Without Donald J. Trump setting the agenda via that platform, I don't think Twitter would have enjoyed the success it's known over recent years. You look at Biden's following, it's nothing like Donald J. Trump's was. This is the Trump media and technology group fighting back against what it sees as a pervasive left-wing bias, right? It's like if one of those at the BBC were guardians of online speech. That's what it's like being on social media as a conservative these days. I make accounts on all of these new platforms, folks, because I never know whether that be Getter, Parler, you name it. You never know if one day standing for biological sex, saying you believe a woman is a woman, saying you believe in Brexit, saying that you believe Britain doesn't have a unique history around the world to be ashamed of. That'll see you banished from some of these mainstream platforms if things continue as they are. So I welcome the birth of new platforms to actually challenge the censorship that's so often found on American big tech platforms. You know, Twitter banning the US president, but keeping the Taliban online to spread its medieval message into the world, or YouTube's removal of those who dare make a case against our nation's COVID consensus. It's clear to me that we actually need alternatives. But my fear, folks, right, is that we can have as many alternatives as we want. But the regulators on both sides of the pond are actually making life easier for these censorious tech giants to silence dissenting voices online. And of course, nobody disagrees with ensuring tech giants use artificial intelligence and other measures, including, of course, the billions that they're worth, to remove suicidal ideation, the promotion of eating disorders, and pornography that could access or reach children, infant users. But this online safety bill the government are pushing goes much further than that, right? The government plan is to force platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and Instagram to remove content that's not illegal, I repeat, not illegal, but is deemed harmful. How many times have we been told that a refusal to accept the consensus on COVID is pushing disinformation? How many times have you heard that being against the organisation Black Lives Matter is racist? How many times have you heard that an opposition to Harry and Meghan is actually harmful, bullying and all the rest of it? All of these things might see you fall foul of this new online safety bill. The government, in my opinion, folks, is at risk of actually empowering people like Facebook's most recent senior promotion in the failed politician Nick Clegg, who purports to believe in free speech, but we all know that stops at speech they disagree with. I can see what Trump is trying to do, and I certainly welcome it, and I encourage it. Trump deserves a platform. He received more votes than any other sitting president in US history. I find it laudable, but I worry that the government legislation to regulate the internet in the name of protecting us all risks stifling, putting a chilling effect on free speech online. I don't know about you, right? But I'm certainly not willing to have Nick Clegg be the arbiter of what is harmful or offensive speech. I find, frankly, the notion that Nick Clegg, I think it's offensive, full stop, to actually suggest that this man regulate such an important marketplace of ideas and speech. And what I find offensive will be vastly different to that which Nick Clegg finds offensive, right? Sir Nick Clegg, I should say. And a good example comes from the MP David Davis. At Conservative Party conference last year, he gave a speech to the privacy rights group, Big Brother Watch. He spoke against vaccine passports, and the video of him doing just that on YouTube was taken down for medical misinformation. Now, to me, this is worrying, right? Because if you'd argued at the beginning of the pandemic that mask wearing was sensible, you'd have been found guilty of spreading misinformation. In the 90s, where you'd argue that homosexuality wasn't a mental illness, you'd have been found guilty of spreading public health accepted misinformation. There's no such thing as settled science, right? And there's no such thing as set in stone arguments. Debate and speech, in my opinion, must absolutely be sacrosanct. And I really do worry that whilst Trump's efforts are admirable and welcome, and as I say, laudable, they'll be somewhat for nothing, rendered redundant, if our Conservative government creates these regulatory chilling effects on speech and debate online. I'm Darren Grimes for Reasoned UK.